All right, here we go on a Thursday. We're winding down the month of August, ladies and gentlemen. Hard to believe we've already gotten through the first month of what I guess you would consider the fall, even though it's more so feels like getting close to winter than it is to fall. But hey, we'll take it for this time of year. Rain's here, but we're happy inside the UKnighted Tap House on this Thursday evening. Welcome, everyone, to the UKnighted Podcast, episode number 2 of season number 2, and it is the final episode before we get the competitions rolling. The theme of this episode is Let the Games Begin, because starting this weekend, Gannon Athletics gets their games into full swing. We're going to be talking so much about what you can expect this weekend. Of course, football kicking off the home slate of things Saturday at noon when they take on Davenport at what will be a sunny and hopefully packed McConnell Family Stadium for a blackout. We'll get to that in just a couple of minutes. Not to be outmentioned as well, men's water polo going to start their season. They have 4 games coming up this weekend. So we have so much to get to tonight, so much to get to this weekend. So no better time than to run down what we have coming on this evening on our what will be penultimate show before we get to the month of September. In just a few minutes' time, a little bit later, it will be a taped interview from earlier today, but football head coach Eric Rayburn going to join us. His team practicing at present as they're less than 48 hours away from what will be their season opener taking on Davenport. We can't wait for this one. Going to be an exciting game. 2 teams that are looking to start off the season right, and for Coach Rayburn, a lot of new faces that you'll see, but this team primed and ready to make a big run this season, no question. Student Athletic Advisory Committee is back this year, of course, part of the student body that does such a great job by bridging any gap that there is between student athletes and students on campus. Zoe Gatchins, the co-president with Paco Palacian of Gannon Athletics, is going to join us in just a few minutes for that interview as well. We're going to be talking about the excitement surrounding the new year, some of the new chairs, what they can bring to the table, and just the encouragement of athletes, student athletes, to participate as much as they possibly can. It's a tough challenge to balance your schedule when you have leadership positions and things of that nature. So make sure to join us for that interview coming up in just a couple of minutes' time. But again, so much to get to this evening as we get ready for what will be the start of a great year of Gannon Athletics. Of course, the reigning Dixon Trophy champions. That trophy will head back to the PSAC offices, and now the Golden Knights try for their pursuit of what would be a 4th championship in the last 5 years for the Golden Knights as they look for another, or 3rd in the last 4, I should say, as the Golden Knights go for another Dixon Trophy title here this season. Before we get to our interview for Student Athletic Advisory Committee, let's go ahead and talk about some of the events that are coming up in addition to the athletic events in the next couple of weeks' time. We've been talking about it for quite some time, and that is the Knight Nation Invitational, which will be the kickoff to homecoming weekend. That's coming up 2 weeks from tomorrow. Can't wait for it, and spots are going fast. There are lots of sign-ups. Foursomes are going like crazy. We have people that are excited for this event, wanting to play in this event. And if you're interested, you can scan that QR code right there on your right-hand side. It takes you to all the information with how you can purchase tickets and what you will get at the Knight Nation Invitational. It's much more than just a round of golf. You get breakfast, lunch, some snacks, some opportunities to win some prizes. And oh, by the way, it's 18 holes with a cart and a fun time with so many Gannon Athletic representatives. What better way to kick off your homecoming weekend than participating in the Knight Nation Invitational in honor of Bud Elwell? That's Friday, September 12th. Make sure to register today. If you weren't at the Top House last week, you missed a really cool giveaway, so make sure that you sign up right now, and you can be a part of an exciting event in honor of such a special member of Gannon Athletics. All right, again, so much to get to tonight. We've been talking about for weeks, it seems like, leading up to the beginning part of the season, and we're getting ready in 48 hours from now to kick off the 2025-2026 campaign. Let us know, by the way, down in the comments where you're going to be on Saturday when the Golden Knights take on Davenport in football. Maybe send some of your favorite pictures in Gannon gear, or what are you going to be wearing when you go to the stadium on Saturday and support the Golden Knights? Can't wait. So much to get excited for, so much to get ready for. So let's go ahead and kick off this show in the only way that we know how. Food, because after all, we are at the UKnighted Tap House in downtown Erie. They do such a good job, John Russell Hospitality and the fleet of restaurants they have around the city, of making sure people are well fed, well taken care of, and leaving happy, as they always are here on the corner of 4th and State. Let's take a look at what our dish of the day is on this Thursday, August 28th. Tell you what, it's a pretty good one. Classic pepperoni was last week. This week, though, just as good, if not better. I want want to say that last year this was probably my most favorite dish. It is the bacon great flatbread, which is our dish of the day. And the worst part about this, everyone at the Gannon table is looking at me like I have $1 million sitting there. All right, Carrie, go ahead, come over. I know this is your thing. Carrie McKay is going to join us. She joined us last week in the podcast in a much easier role tonight. Bacon great flatbread is our dish of the day, Carrie, and you get to be the one to sample this here once you put that headset on. I was saying a few moments ago, there you go, you got it. I was saying a few minutes ago, this probably was my favorite of all of the dishes of the day that we had from last year. So I want you to take a minute, sample it, show the crowd what you got here. It's got everything, right? Cheese. It's a flatbread. Cheese, grapes, bacon, as usual. It looks like there's some onions on there, some balsamic vinaigrette dressing. Carrie's going to show it off. Go for it. Take a bite. Tell us what you think, Carrie.
I'm a little bit nervous.
Why are you nervous?
I don't know. Like, grape on a pizza is a little bit controversial.
I'll tell you what. It's really good. Just dive in and go for it. I think you're going to be pretty impressed.
Also, I regret agreeing to eat on camera.
Why is that?
I don't really when people watch me eat.
You're more nervous about tasting food than you were for the entire segment last week, huh?
Absolutely.
Isn't it good?
Like, can they hear me crunching?
No, it's fine. Isn't it good?
It's delicious.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's like one of the best things they have on their entire menu.
It, like, all works so good together, like the flavors. And, like, the grape when it's like crunchy enough, but also like juicy. Very delicious.
When our former director of facilities, Mitch Farnsworth, and I were on here, he talked about, and I agree, that the combinations they have with different flatbreads and pizzas are so good. Like, of course, peanut butter jelly's the classic, whatever, whatever your combination is, pepperoni on a pizza. But like this is, I feel like something that people should have known worked well together and just didn't. This is a great dish.
Yeah, because like you also think about like chicken pecan salad with grapes and all of that like mixed in it. So I mean, not a lot of people do it. So only at Tap House you can get this menu item.
All right,
I recommend it.
I'm all for it. Carrie's going to take this back. She's going to enjoy it. Then I might order one after this episode tonight. Dish of the day is the bacon grape flatbread. You can get it only at the Tap House from now until close, and any other day that you want to stop down at the Tap House. Make sure to stop down now, though. You can join us anytime from now until the end of the podcast around 7 o'clock. And make sure to get your bacon grape flatbread today. There's an array of so many great items on this menu, and I think one of the things that you'll see throughout the year that the UPick 6 Tap House at any UPick 6 location around John Russell Hospitality, they've got some darn good food. So make sure to come down today. They are open throughout the entire week. And make sure as well that you check out the United podcast because we are live tonight at the UPick 6 Tap House, as we are every Thursday. This year, it'll be at various John Russell Brewing and John Russell Hospitality locations. So stay tuned because we got more on that in just a little bit. Zoe Gaetjens is joining us right now. She was also a guest on the podcast last year, the co-president of the Student Athletic Advisory Committee. You and Paco are holding down the fort this year. It's a familiar crew, but hard to believe we're already back in the year, right? Like this is just insanity.
I know, you're telling me.
How quick did the summer go for you? Did you have any fun things that you got a chance to accomplish during the summer?
I did. I went to Cape Cod, Massachusetts with my family, and I also had a new job working in a nursing home. So that was fun.
Congratulations. How is
Thanks.
Cape? I hear that area, like the Maine, Massachusetts area, that's a pretty neat place to go. What was that experience like?
Oh, it's always wonderful because my family lives up there.
Yeah.
So it's always just a big family vacation.
That's pretty neat. Pretty good place to go for the summer. And now we're back here in Erie, and of course, you've got to pick the day that it rains to be the podcast. So this year, you have two presidents, you and Paco, who plays on the men's water polo team. You're both co-presidents this year. Take me behind the decision to have you both co-lead in this group coming into this year and what that process was like.
We thought that would probably be a good idea because we're in different seasons. We feel like it would be a little hard to time manage if one person's doing all the presidency at once. So he can focus on playing water polo and I can focus on the presidency. And then when I take over in the winter, it's kind of a longer season, so he'll take on more of the role during that time.
I think we talked last time a little bit about this, but it's probably even more appropriate to talk about it now. We're a week and a half into the school year, and you are one of many student athletes who talk about balance, right? Naturally, you have to do it as a student and as an athlete, but now you take on this presidential role. How have you learned to balance things in your time at Gannon? Because it doesn't ever get easier, but how have you managed to make that happen, Zoe?
So many different schedules. I have probably 4 different schedules I use throughout the month, and this is actually my second presidency. I'm also the president of another organization. So using that kind of experience in those leadership roles in my other organizations has helped me in this one too.
How do you do your calendars? Do you color code them? Do you have different ones? How do you make that happen?
I have academic, athletic, weekly, monthly.
I don't know how I could keep track of all those calendars. I feel like I'd have to do different color codes and almost have like a wall that I carried with me behind my back of different calendars. I can only imagine how you do it. But you know how important Student Athletic Advisory Committee is, Zoe. You've been a part of it now for a couple of years. From your side, what made you want to join? Why is it so important for you to be able to be a part of this now year in, year out?
I was actually voluntold that I was doing it my freshman year. I didn't know what it was either.
Yeah.
I researched it a little bit because my coach had said, hey, I think you'd be good at this. So I decided to do it. And I was also voluntold. I was on the executive committee my sophomore year. And since then, I've just really grown to love it. And now I'm so proud to be on the presidency role.
So for people who don't know what SAC is, and I think this is a really good opportunity for student athletes who are listening to this podcast to get an idea of what it is. Obviously, you have a committee, you have leadership roles, but what does Student Athletic Advisory Committee entail in trying to continue to build up the organization?
We actually have multiple different committees within our large committee, and our new leadership board as of this year, we each are a chair on those committees. So I am the chair of the Make-A-Wish committee because I've done a lot with that the past few years. And my committee will all get together and we'll talk about how we're going to fundraise and then eventually throw the Make-A-Wish reveal. There are other ones, like we have social media, service, fundraising, just in general. So we all come together after we have our committee discussions and then bring it to the big group.
What are some of the goals this year for SAC? I'm sure you always have lofty goals to begin the seasons. What are you looking to do this year and hopefully accomplish in 2025, 2026?
We'll definitely want to continue our successes from last year, especially as like a whole athletic community. We had such high achievements last year. I really want to continue those with our multiple regional championships that we won, winning the Dixon Trophy. I'm just so proud to be a part of that community. And in SAC, we're just going to continue being a voice for all of our student athletes and voting on our legislation, which we'll do again soon, from the PSAC level and then down to the Gannon level.
It's difficult to maintain the success that these programs have. We talked about it all last year, that it's not easy, but you do it on a consistent by consistent basis. Can you take me into those conversations? I'm sure that you have as a committee and as an executive board as to how you continue success, because you do it, but there's got to be a process, right? What are those conversations like, and how do you maybe build off of what other teams do in the fall, with you being a winter, spring hybrid sport yourself? What do those conversations look like in terms of trying to lead to success?
It's all about talking with individual teams and just really keep the pride up, because the more we have pride within SAC, that's how we can keep encouraging teams to perform at their best levels. We always update each other on how we're doing. Every month we'll go through and talk about how each team has done, so that way we can all congratulate each other and just really keep encouraging everybody to keep going.
You mentioned in addition to your roles as co-president, Zoe, you're now the chair of the Make-A-Wish team for Student Athletic Advisory Committee. Take me through what that's going to mean to you this year. We know how important it is, right? We've done a reveal now for several years running. What's that gratification like for you to be a part and now really the lead for the student perspective on Make-A-Wish?
It is probably one of my favorite things I've ever done, to be honest. It's very important, the fundraising, obviously. We fundraise as student athletes, with our student athletes being at all of our home events, going around fundraising there. Personally, I do a lot of trying to organize fundraisers through different restaurants and other organizations to put on a reveal later in the year, and that is my favorite time of all. That month leading up to the reveal is my favorite time of the year. It's
been so exciting to be able to watch these reveals the last couple of years, and just the smile on the kids' faces and the families' faces and the athletes' faces as well. It's been really, really great to see. We talked a little bit about what you expect for this year and your goals. When you look at Gannon Athletics from a student-athlete's perspective, it's difficult nowadays to stay with the same school, number one, because there's transfers all over the place, but there's a continuity of sorts that student athletes come here and they stay here. How important has that been for you in seeing so many familiar faces now? Obviously, you want to encourage the new kids to come in, but to be able to have that continuity within a group, I'm sure, with so many returners from last year as part of the leadership board, I'm sure that's going to be a really positive thing as well.
It's so exciting to see everyone compete, to be honest. I love watching every sport that I can. I try to go to as many home events as possible, or even away ones if they're close. But It's just so exciting to see everything kick off this year with football and water polo. Good luck to Paco, my co-president. I know he's starting this weekend. I'm super excited to start competing in the winter. It's my senior season, so it's my last year of wrestling. I'm just really proud to be part of the Gannon success story.
What words of wisdom do you give to incoming freshmen? I mean, we saw last week, it's so overwhelming, right? You get to college and the buildings look bigger, the people look more intense. It just seems like a different experience. You've gone through that yourself. What words of wisdom have you given the incoming freshmen as they prepare for the upcoming year?
My coach actually asked me this question 3 days ago, and
Oh,
I'm going
great.
to answer it the same way I did then. I told our freshmen to get involved. Obviously, athletics is a huge deal, but you do have to do other things. You're not just an athlete, you're also a student, and there are plenty of things that you can do to get involved. And I said that I've met some of my best friends in some of the weirdest places that I'd never expected to meet them. So get involved.
It is wild, and I'm sure you can talk about this, but when I was in college, you have an idea of what you're going to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to join this club. I'm going to go here on this day. I'm going to go to this class on this day, and within a week, everything changes.
Oh, yeah.
And you meet different people, and all of a sudden, the schedule that you think you had is totally different. And I'm sure it's about, in addition to going and trying things, it's putting yourself out there. It's also, I'm sure, going with the flow, because you just never know what's going to happen in college.
Oh yeah, I've done some completely different things than I would have thought.
Yeah.
Like I came into school thinking I'm going to pursue my education, I'm going to wrestle, and I've done so many other things besides that, like joining all of my organizations that I'm currently in, honor societies, and becoming like board members on those too. So it's definitely different. And Make-A-Wish, I never would have thought I would have such a big role in changing a child's life.
It is so awesome to see individuals like yourself and others grow with their portfolio of I'm associated with this, I'm associated with that. And I know SAC, in addition to the athletic portion, you talk about the student portion comes first, and ultimately you want students to succeed out of the classroom after college is over. Take me through maybe your words of encouragement for people that are on the same plane as yourself, seniors, those who are graduating. What's that plan got to look like for you to be able to have success and for others to be able to have success, and maybe how SAC can be involved in that?
I would say just stay consistent and, like I said, try to do new things because it'll always broaden your horizons and get you to experience new things that would actually help you more in the future than you'd realize. I didn't realize that with this I would do so much speaking and organizing. I'd never really done that before, but now that I've done those in multiple different organizations, it's helped me time manage and just prepare myself for my future so much better.
A couple more minutes left with Zoe Gachins, the co-president of the Student Athletic Advisory Committee, joining us here on episode 2 of the United podcast. Let's talk a little bit about women's wrestling because, of course, you get a chance for one more year to be a part of this coming up in the winter. The team, from what I understand, is going to be just as great, if not even better than it was last year. But I want to start with the opportunity now to be an NCAA sport. That has been, of course, the storyline with your sport for the last few months now. It's got to be extremely gratifying, I'm sure, to be able to compete at an NCAA level this year.
It is so exciting. I will not lie, I got robbed my last senior year of high school because it wasn't a sanctioned sport. When I was actually wrestling, I wrestled boys all throughout high school. And right as I graduated, it got sanctioned. So I felt like I got a little robbed, but now that I'm a senior in college and I get to wrestle for the NCAA, it's so exciting.
The team this year, you bring in a few transfers and some freshmen as well, including a really big local talent, Sierra Chiesa, who's a part of the team this year. What's the expectations for women's wrestling, knowing that you're looking to climb that mountain and get to the top your first year in the NCAA?
I'm expecting to be the best team that we've had so far. We have obviously had our team since 2018, so we haven't had it for too long, but we are definitely about to make some serious changes in our region this year. We have so many new transfers and so many new freshmen. We have 29 people on our team.
Wow.
That is a huge number compared to what we've had in the past.
Yeah, goodness.
So I'm seeing another regional championship.
I'll tell you what, it's certainly a challenge to be able to navigate your way through that. Has there been any changes in the off season? How do you prepare now that your schedule looks a little bit different and the postseason format's a bit different as well?
We started training a lot earlier this year. We started our practices Monday, so that's what our preseason looks like.
Yeah.
A lot of conditioning, cross-training, lifting. We haven't really gotten too much into wrestling yet, but we're going to get into that very soon.
I was going to say, you've got plenty of time for that.
Oh,
You're
yeah.
going to be doing a lot of wrestling with head coach Aaron Vandiver and assistant coach Chad Vandiver. Zoe Gaetjens, I don't know how you keep the schedule aligned, but I commend you for it. Thanks again for being a part of this podcast tonight. And best of luck this year. We can't wait to see what Student Athletic Advisory Committee does, and, of course, women's wrestling in a few months as well.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, Student Athletic Advisory Committee, if you need help as a student athlete, you can get it from SAC. They do such great work with student athletes and making sure that that relationship between the student and the administration and others is what they need, the student athlete that is, to be able to be successful. Taking a look at what else you can expect here throughout the rest of the United podcast. We'll have our interview with head coach Eric Rayburn of football in just a couple of minutes from now. But as we've been talking about, games start this weekend. So let's show you what's on tap as we begin the 2025-2026 season less than 48 hours from now. Here we go. We've been waiting all summer for it, and now the schedule is finally upon us. Saturday at high noon, it is football against Davenport. Eric Rayburn leading his squad out to McConnell Family Stadium for a noon kick. It will be senior day. Gannon about to recognize about 20 seniors that have been a big integral part of this football program. That will be at 11:30. So make sure to come early, be loud, be excited, because you get to experience the excitement of senior day and all the seniors who will walk, and then you get to see a great football game. Also, too, if you're coming to the football game, it is a blackout. Make sure to wear black. The first 50 students who come through the gate dressed in black are going to get a Porky's Pizza gift card. So make sure if you're a student to come early, be loud, be supportive. Eric Rayburn's team is excited to hear and see your support. So that's football on Saturday. That kicks off our athletic schedule, and then just a short while after that, men's water polo begins their story on the road. Zarko Sadakovic, who we will hear from in a few minutes later on this podcast, they're at the Brown Bruno Classic, taking on Brown, Harvard, Iona, and MIT. That'll be a 4-game gauntlet across Saturday and Sunday, so we'll see how they fare. It's exciting. It's great to get to see Coach Sadakovic and the water polo squad. They have a lot of returners this season and a couple of great freshmen that they will sprinkle throughout the lineup, so that is the start of the year for men's water polo. Then we get into next week, and men's and women's soccer starting their seasons on the exact same day on September 4th. They have some midweek contests to speak of. Specifically on Thursday the 4th, women's soccer at Charleston, West Virginia. That'll be a 1 o'clock kick straight after that game ends. Men's soccer is at Lake Erie, just a short drive down the road in Paynesville, Ohio. That game will be played at 4 p.m. Volleyball and Matt Darling's squad, not to be outdone. They begin their season a week from tomorrow when they take on a plethora of teams in the opening Roar tournament in Garden City, New York. Specifically, the defending national champion. How's this for a start? They take on Lynn, does Matt Darling's volleyball squad, at 2 o'clock on Friday. Then they'll play Adelphi that same night at 5 o'clock in the evening. And then it'll be Malloy on Saturday, as well as games against Assumption. So a 4-game stint for volleyball coming up, not this weekend, but next weekend. Cross country is our second home event of the season for all Gannon athletics. Rob Aarons and his men's and women's squad will be at Pleasant Ridge Park for the Race in the Park coming up Friday, September 5th at 5:30 p.m. So much to look forward to as we move along throughout the start of the season. It's all here, folks. Gannon Athletics is back. We can't wait to be there with you every single step of the way. So, again, make sure if you're coming to the football game on Saturday, it is a blackout. And make sure to arrive early and often. The gates will be open just over an hour prior to game time. 11:30 senior day presentation, 12 o'clock kick between the Golden Knights and the Davenport Panthers. Speaking of game number 1, Eric Rayburn's squad, well, they're ready to go. They've been excited for this season for a while. It did not go, as we all know, how they wanted it to go last year. A 3-win season for Coach Rayburn and the Golden Knights. But the roster this year, they believe, more polish, a great amount of potential, and an opportunity for Gannon to start off the season on a great foot. If they can go 1-0, who knows what happens from there? My sit down with head coach Eric Rayburn, the head coach of the Golden Knight football team. We're talking all things from offensive personnel to game talk, keys to victory, and the craziest weather game he's ever been a part of. Plus, left-handed quarterbacks. That's all in my conversation with head coach Eric Rayburn here on the United Podcast. Take a look. We were just joking off camera a second ago that the weather is actually going to be decent so that the black jerseys on Saturday aren't going to be too warm or whatnot, Coach. This is your 6th one of these in Erie with the Gannon Golden Knights. always exciting, and you get to play at home on a Saturday to start the year. I'm sure that's going to be cool, too, that you don't have to go Thursday night or Friday night or one of those days where you get a Saturday afternoon game.
Yeah, we're excited, really excited to get to kick off the season at home. And the temperature looks like it's going to be more like a fall day. You know, you can always get a little nervous these late August games that you're going to get a 90 or 95 degree day, but hopefully it's going to be a nice cool fall day, and the players won't have any issues with the heat.
Do you have a worst football weather story before we get into all this? Because I feel like you guys played anything, but you got to have one of those days where you were probably coaching somewhere and it was torrential downpour or snow. Do you have one of those days you remember that you were playing in mud or something like that?
We, when I was at Wabash College, our first round playoff game, we got a blizzard. And so halftime ended up being about an hour and 10 minutes because the refs couldn't see the sideline, and they're trying to shovel and clear the field and stuff. So we played well. Our quarterback handled the conditions better than their quarterback did, but that was probably the craziest weather game that I was involved in.
You know, you always have a chance of that here when you get to about October, even late September. You could make the argument too. All right, week one. Obviously, there's going to be some jitters, right? You expect the nerves to play a part. What's kind of your expectation coming in? We'll break down the game in a second, but just your expectation with the team coming in week one, things you're looking forward to as you start the year at home.
Yeah, I think, managing your emotions is number one, particularly if you're a guy who hasn't been a starter before. Mm-hmm. If you're a first-year guy, it's easy to get maybe a little too excited for that first game. And, then you have a lot of this silly pre-snap penalties and mental mistakes and those type of things. But so just trying to, make sure we calm ourselves so we can concentrate and focus on what we have to do and not get too high. And then I think, always that first game, always really concerned about special teams. You don't typically get to do a lot of live reps with special teams in the preseason. And then, takeaways, protecting the football on offense and trying to take the ball away on defense. So those are kind of always my worries, heading into the first game, and certainly this year's no different.
It'd be fascinating. We could break down every individual position because you said at the beginning of the year, right? Transfers, graduation, the roster always looks new. This year it looks new too. Starting on the offensive side, Anthony Harris, transfer from Maine's going to be your starting quarterback on Saturday. He's a southpaw. You kind of talked to me about how he's more of a dual threat guy. He can do it with his legs and can do it with his arms, and he has D1 experience. Take me through his success in camp and what ultimately led you to let him have those first snaps coming up Saturday afternoon.
Yeah, obviously he's a very mature guy. He's been in college football for a long time, but he hasn't played a lot of game reps, and learning a whole new offense is a challenge, I think. So I've been most impressed with him, from a mental standpoint, how quickly he's picked up our system. And like you said, he is a passer who can hurt you with his feet, which I think is important. I know some people they'll put athletes back there that can't throw it as well. I don't think those guys are as dangerous, but I think Anthony's a good passer who also has good feet and can hurt you with his legs. So I feel like he's made really good decisions and has a good idea of when to pull the trigger and when to try to pull the ball down and take off and make a play with his feet. So we're excited. We're gonna rotate in some of those other quarterbacks as well, but Anthony's going to start the game, and I think he's had a great camp, and I'm looking forward to seeing him and how he'll perform on Saturday.
You mentioned how quickly he got acclimated to Gannon and how you run your system, and I talked to him a couple of days ago, and one of the things he said was that with the transfer portal, it's a scary thing, right? Everyone talks about the glitz and glamour of it, but then you get into it, you have to find a school, especially with the position of quarterback. You don't always get that opportunity because teams are only going to take one, maybe two QBs. Do you feel like, in addition to him quickly acclimating to your scheme, that he quickly acclimated to what the team is all about? And what do you look for early success as a transfer student? Is it just figuring things out early? How do you kind of gauge that with transfers and how they can be successful early on?
Yeah, I think the first thing is kind of their attitude and how they fit in with the rest of the guys on the team. And his has been fantastic. He's hit it off with everybody, So that part's always kind of the first priority, and that's gone really well. And but quarterback is a hard, like the most difficult position to play, and so much of it is mental and having a bunch of reps. So in the portal, it's really tough at quarterback because now you have to quickly learn the system. You haven't had a year or 2 years to kind of develop and feel more comfortable with with the playbook. So the fact that he's been able to do that so quickly has been really impressive, and I think speaks to how high of a football IQ that he has.
Not that I want to ask about strategy, but I've always been curious. Is there anything you need to modify in a playbook or in a scheme when you have a left-handed quarterback? Because again, they do the same functions, but is it any different with him being a southpaw as opposed to the traditional right-handed quarterback?
That question gets asked a lot. I've actually had several lefties at quarterback that were outstanding players. So we don't. It's not that you really change much, but sometimes you want to put your best tackle on the right side instead of the left side. So there's little things like that. That kind of affect maybe your planning or such. But for the most part, we're gonna run our offense, and he's just gonna be throwing it with the other hand instead of as a righty. But yeah, the first time I had a lefty start for me at quarterback, like just watching film felt awkward to me. I was like, whoa, what's he doing? But yeah, I've had great success with lefties, and so now it doesn't matter to me whether you're righty or lefty. All I care about is whether you throw it to our guy or not. So. So yeah, it won't really change us a lot, but little adjustments and considerations that you have to make, going from a right-handed quarterback to a left-handed quarterback.
It's always been fascinating to me because you don't see many, right? Two is the big
example.
No,
yeah, there's not a lot. Yeah.
But you said you've had a few, so it's obviously worked in the past, and hopefully we see it work here on Saturday. Speaking of offense, you have a lot of new starters, but you get Tank back, and I know there was a lot of talk in the offseason, what would Tank do, what would be his plan? He comes back to Gannon, your leading receiver, he's in the record books and is only going to climb there. How nice will it be to have him, especially early in the season, when you're just trying to see what works and what doesn't?
Yeah, obviously, we feel really good about having him back for his senior year. He's a tremendous talent, great work ethic and practice guy, and he's a great teammate. He's the first one to celebrate when somebody else makes a good play. Mm-hmm. So we love having him back. Obviously, he's played since he was a true freshman for us, so he has a ton of game experience. So that's another thing. Like, I'd be shocked if he has any first game jitters or anything like that because he's got so many games under his belt. So we really feel like he's a talent and very consistent and is going to perform at a high level each and every week.
So that's the offense. There's several other components and parts as well, but we'll see that on Saturday. Meanwhile, on defense, Coach Caljean comes back. We've seen what he's been able to do and the success he's had with his 10-year track. You have a decent amount of returning defensive starters, and I think the big thing that you told me in the offseason was we want to create more turnovers, take the ball away, maybe be a little bit more aggressive. What do you hope to see out of the defense in addition to those things, or maybe what the key is to have that turnover success this year as you get ready for Game 1?
Yeah, I think that was definitely our weakness last year. I think we had it's the fewest takeaways any team I've ever coached has had. I think we only had 5 takeaways in 11 games or 10 games last year. So that's priority number one. And I think to do that, we have to be better against the run. So we force more passes, and then we got to find a way to get our hands on the football. And we just weren't doing that a year ago. So we've really put an emphasis on that in practice, and hopefully it'll come to fruition on Saturday.
When you look at the defense, obviously, Coach Caljean, you've got a great group of guys back there as coaches. I didn't get a chance to ask you about Eric Pratt. We featured him on Behind the Shield in our second episode. He comes to Erie as the OC, kind of last minute, right? July hires they happen, but they're not what you would like to have happen if you had your choice. What has he been like in kind of implementing his thing? Of course, he works a lot with the offensive line. How has he added to this offense in training camp?
Yeah, obviously that's kind of atypical timing, but sort of like a player in the portal, right? He's under the gun. You got to learn system, learn all these players, what their strengths and weaknesses are, and I think he really hit the ground running and has done a great job of building a relationship with our guys and helping improve them as football players. So we're grateful to have him. Obviously, he has a really good resume and a lot of coaching experience, but maybe more importantly, he has experience in the PSAC. So he played at Westchester and then coached at East Stroudsburg. So he's very familiar with our conference and the caliber of play and how difficult it is to each and every week to figure out a way to win. So kind of having that experience, I think, is going to make the transition much smoother for us, for sure.
Let's talk Davenport. Just the third time in the two schools' history that they've played each other. Obviously not a team typical on your schedule. You get them at home. They had a good year a year ago. The first thing to me that pops off the page, Coach, is their receivers and how big they are. They've got 13 guys that are 6 foot or above. When you look at them as a team and what you've seen from them so far in the film I'm sure you've watched, what pops off the page about this Panther squad? Well,
I think you touched on it. They're a big physical team. Obviously they play in a great conference. They played the national champions last year at their place and played them tough. So they're battle tested, really good football program. A lot of consistency in their coaching staff. They've been together for like 8 or 9 years, I think. So they have a great program, and it'll be a real challenge for us this first week, for sure.
Take me through, if you will, maybe a couple of the matchups that you're looking for, maybe position groups or whatnot that will be key in this game against Davenport.
Yeah, I think for us on offense, two real keys. One, I think Davenport's really good. Their front seven is exceptional. Mm-hmm. So trying to find a way to protect our quarterback in the passing game, but also, trying to establish a run game, that'll be a challenge for our offensive line and tight ends and running backs. And then they also play a lot of man-to-man, so they're not afraid to get up and test the receivers. We feel like we have good skill, but I know they feel like they have great skill as well. So I think those one-on-one matchups at receiver are going to be crucial, and I think whichever team wins the majority of those will probably end up winning the game. And then I think when they have the football, for us, like we mentioned, they have some physically impressive wide receivers, and so we have to do a good job of not giving up any explosive plays, and they have a great rushing attack. I mean, that was the strength of theirs last year. So we have to do a good job against the run as well.
Of course, so many battles and whatnot to look at, and I know obviously that'll play out on Saturday. But Coach, you've talked a lot about your schedule. Obviously, you have a challenging schedule to begin the season, especially when you look in conference play in Kutztown and East Stroudsburg, and those will come later. What do you make of the conference as a whole? Of course, preseason poll comes out. I feel like they've just slotted you guys fourth and really haven't moved you for 10 years now. But when you look at top to bottom in the West, it seems like every team have at least lost a couple of big players. You never know what it's going to be like. How do you size up the PSAC this year as you kind of keep your eye on the back burner down the road to some other games?
Yeah, I really feel like our conference, from top to bottom, is the best, or certainly on the short list for the best conferences in the country.
Right.
At the Division II level. I think the challenging part in our conference is it does not matter who you play. Like they could beat you if you have a bad Saturday. So the parity in our conference is really strong. Obviously, our schedule is brutal. In our first 5 games, we play one team that was in the semis last year, another team that was in the quarterfinals, a third team that made the playoffs, and then our first 2 non-conference games are against 2 teams that play in the GLIAC, and one was 8-3 and the other one was 7-4. So these first 5 game stretch is really going to be a test for us, but hopefully our guys are up for the challenge.
Be remiss if I didn't talk about the Senior Day festivities you get to celebrate on Saturday. You're kicking off the season with that. Almost 20 guys are going to be walking, and of course, just such a big part of every team is the senior class. I know a lot of them are transfers, but you do have some that have been with the team through and through. Take me through what it means to be able to celebrate them, because I'm sure, obviously, there will be a touch of importance there before the game, just in terms of those seniors.
Yeah, it's always kind of bittersweet, to you appreciate all the effort and energy they poured into our program, but at the same time, you hate the thought of them finishing up and graduating and moving on, and not having them around. So yeah, it's got kind of a mixed emotions. Very very proud of the young men they've become, but at the same time, a little sad to think that this will be the last first game we have with them.
We use the term this time of year a lot in the NFL, fantasy football, as sleeper, right? Sleeper players, sleeper picks. Could you identify, if you could, Coach, maybe one or two or a few guys that maybe don't get talked about that often that will be key roles this year? Guys that you think are poised to have breakout seasons or maybe don't always pop up as great starting players, but could be really impactful for the team this year?
Yeah, I think maybe a sleeper on offense for us would be James Faulkner. I don't think it'd be any surprise to anybody for him to have a good season, but the fact he missed all last year with an injury, so kind of wasn't in there at all last year. So I think he can really have a huge impact in this year's team. So we're looking forward to having him out there again. And then, defensively, I think David Fair is a guy at corner that, just in his second year, really feel like he is a really gifted player and got to play a little bit last year. And I think that experience is going to really pay off. He's worked extremely hard this off season, and we really feel like maybe some other people outside our program don't know as much about him, but we really feel like he could have a great year as well.
I know that the summer is a grind. Of course, the season itself is a grind. But for those who aren't part of the game or as directly involved as you were as a head coach, how wonderful is it this time of year, just in general, in all the years you've been coaching? I know you said beforehand we're 48 hours away at the time of this recording, but it feels like it's never going to get here. It makes it all worth it this time in the off season, right?
Yeah, it's particularly I think it's true with all sports. The amount of time you have to put in, particularly as an athlete, all the hard work you have to do for the number of minutes that you actually get to perform doesn't seem fair. And certainly with football, when you only play 11 games. It really feels like the amount of work is astronomical compared to the number of games where you actually get to go out there and kind of showcase and put all that hard work to use. But so I feel like our guys have really worked hard all winter, spring, summer, and I'm excited for them to finally get the chance on Saturday to go out there and get to play the game that they love and have fun with their teammates, and so I'm excited for them for sure.
And a home game as well. The crowd, I'm sure, going to play a part. You've been part of a lot of home openers. What's that crowd impact like, and just how important will it be to see the stands packed Saturday afternoon? Yeah,
it definitely helps to have to be at home and have a big crowd out there behind you. Obviously. Doesn't matter what game you're talking about, there's always peaks and valleys, and so at some point, things aren't going to be going our way, and when you kind of have the fans behind you, that kind of helps get the ship righted, if you will, and so I'm sure that'll be a big help and a huge support for our team on Saturday.
Cannot wait for Saturday afternoon at high noon. The Golden Knights taking on the Davenport Panthers in what will be the home opener and the season opener for Gannon football. That's at noon again. 11:30 is your senior day festivities, where almost 20 Gannon seniors will be walking with friends and family in celebration of senior day. And make sure to wear black, because it is a blackout at McConnell Family Stadium. Looking forward to that as the Golden Knights take on Davenport for what will be the start of the 2025 season. They are one of two teams in football that will be participating in events this weekend. Zarko Sadakovic and men's water polo also taking to their field of competition in the pool, coming up in Saturday and Sunday's Brown Bruno Classic. 4 games for the Golden Knight men's water polo squad as they look for what will be an exciting season, given the fact that they have a lot of starters returning from last year, plus some key freshmen that will help guide them along the way. And what Zarko Sadakovic hopes is a tremendous 2025 season. Here's a preview of what you can expect for this year for the gents in the pool.
Hard to single only a couple individuals because we really have a lot of very skillful players on the roster. Obviously, starting with the captain, Alexander Kotskar, and his fellow teammate Nikiforos. Petar is there as well, who is a great set, and our game has changed since last year, since we brought him to the roster, and as well as some great addition from France, Victor, who is one of the fastest kids on the team and is very excited to watch. I'm really looking forward to this season.
This year there's really no excuse anymore. So, I mean, it's good that there's no excuse, and it's good because now we can have that chemistry and work together and gel together. We've seen it already in practice and some of the scrimmages even last spring.
Beyond those seniors who, again, were big parts of our team, we have a very cohesive unit that has remained. We have 3 completely new guys, and then 1 returner who we didn't have last year, which is Parker. And I think the chemistry that we were building last year, I think it's going to be something that is going to give us a very good foundation going into this year, that we can kind of pick off where we left off in California and just go right at it.
I hope we will be the host team on the championship, so that is maybe something that can bring us to be a winner. But it's also far away. That we have a lot of potential and a lot of talent, but I think the work and just work and attitude on the practice will be a key to the winning the championship.
We have great expectations for this season. Also, a lot of returners came back, and also had some new recruitment freshmen who are willing to put the work in, and I believe we're going to achieve something great this season.
Can't wait for men's water polo to do their thing in the pool this year as well. You heard Petar talking a bit about championships. In case you're not aware, Ghana Men's Water Polo is hosting the WWPA Championships this year. That'll be at Spire Institute in Ohio, the beautiful facility about 45 minutes from downtown Erie to the west. We can't wait for that coming up on November 21st. It'll run through November 23rd. So still a long way to go until then. Men's water polo ready for an exciting season, and then a chance to host in, for the most part terms, of course, at Spire, the WWPA Championships. Well, folks, we cannot wait for games. We are less than 48 hours away from the kickoff of the 2025-2026 athletic season. And from all of us at the administration, and for those of you who are watching who are Gannon fans and community members, we want to wish all of our student athletes a safe, happy, and healthy competitive season. We love all of our teams. We love what they do. They are so successful, as you heard Zoe Gaetjens mention just a little bit ago in the podcast. It's amazing to get to see Dixon trophies in 2 of the last 3 years, and now we hope to continue to have more and more and more and more as Gannon looks for that trifecta, if you will, with another Dixon Trophy championship potentially, we at least hope, in May of this upcoming year in 2026. That's it for us tonight on the United Podcast. I do want to make a programming note. Our next show will still be Thursday, coming up on September 4th at 6 p.m., but we are changing locations for the month of September. This season on the podcast, we're going to be highlighting some of the great areas and locations that John Russell Hospitality oversees in downtown Erie, and so that means coming up next week and throughout the month of September, we're moving to Pier 6 Rooftop Bar and Restaurant. It is one of the best sites in all of downtown Erie. Sitting up there on the rooftop bar, enjoying a drink, some food, while getting to see the beautiful, picturesque scene of Lake Erie. We can't wait to show that off for you in our podcast setting. So make sure if you're joining us in person next week, you head to Pier 6. Still, of course, come down to the Tap House during the week, too. Maybe you can hit both places in 1 week. That would certainly be wonderful. But again, make sure, stay tuned for our show at Pier 6 throughout the month of September. We will still be every Thursday at 6 o'clock, just a bit of a location change, and hopefully a little bit of an even cooler background for you with Lake Erie in the purview for the United Podcast. That does it for us tonight on this second episode of season number 2. Again, one more quick look at what we have on tap. Football, men's water polo, and the rest of the fall sports will follow next week when they begin their 2025 campaigns to start September. We will see you all coming up next Thursday at 6 o'clock for what will be our third podcast of the year at Pier 6 Rooftop Bar and Restaurant and wherever you can get your podcast. This has been the United Podcast. Can't wait to see you back next week, everybody. It's finally here. It's game time. It's game week. The 2025-2026 season is upon us. Everyone celebrate. Enjoy the games. We'll see you later.